We are anonymous. No faces, no flags, no permission slips. We exist where power assumes silence will protect it, where titles are used like armor, and where the public is told to accept the unacceptable because it is wrapped in the language of national security. Tonight, the mask slips again, right there on the Senate floor, in plain sight, in the kind of moment that makes authoritarians furious, because it reminds them they are not kings. Motion is agreed to. The yeas are 52, the nays are 47. The motion is agreed to. Joint resolution will be placed on the calendar. The joint resolution will be placed on the calendar. That is the sound of a rebuke. A rare one, a loud one. A 52-47 vote in the United States Senate to advance a war powers resolution aimed at restricting Donald Trump from taking further military action in Venezuela without explicit congressional authorization. 5 Republicans crossed the line and joined Democrats to make it happen. Mofsky, Young, Paul, Collins, and Hawley. 52-47. Not a landslide, not some symbolic whisper. A razor-thin warning shot, because even members of his own party can see what he is doing, pushing the country toward escalation while acting like Congress is just background noise. And Trump, predictably, is losing it, because Trump does not handle limits. Trump does not handle oversight. Trump does not handle the Constitution unless it is something he can hold up like a prop. The second Congress reminds him that war powers do not belong to one man. He starts doing what he always does, threatening, raging, posturing, promising to veto, and insisting he has absolute power to launch invasions wherever he wants to in the Western Hemisphere. That is not leadership. That is a tantrum wrapped in a flag. That is a man testing how far he can go before the system breaks. And while the Senate is essentially rebuking him, the next piece of the pattern drops. Trump regime sources are telling Reuters and others that the administration is discussing a hostile takeover of Greenland, not even subtle, not even diplomatic, but transactional and coercive, like everything Trump touches. The reported idea is to pay Greenlanders between $10,000 and $100,000 each if they support secession, if they break away from Denmark and affiliate with the United States. Checks for loyalty, cash for sovereignty, a bribe dressed up as policy. Let that sink in. The Trump regime is taking away health care from tens of millions of Americans, and at the same time, it is trying to subsidize oil companies to the tune of $100 billion in Venezuela. They have given $40 billion plus to Argentina. The regime is talking about raising the military budget to $1.5 trillion, up from $900 billion, and then up from $1 trillion that Trump announced via a social media post a few weeks back. And now they want to pay people who live in Greenland up to $100,000 each to buy a political outcome, to buy secession, to buy a piece of the Arctic like it is a golf course he can slap his name on. What the hell is going on here? Reuters reported that U.S. officials have been discussing offering those payments to persuade Greenlanders towards secession and U.S. affiliation, a plan that could cost hundreds of millions to billions, depending on the amount and Greenland's population. And the reporting does not stop at checks. It goes on to explain that this plan is part of broader White House deliberations that include military options, invasion options. If the people of Greenland do not accept those 10,000 or 100,000 checks, it is economic coercion backed by the implied threat of force. And while Trump plays empire builder on a map, Europe is not treating it like a joke. Reuters has also reported that European allies have been working through contingency planning because a U.S. move on Greenland would send shockwaves through NATO and trigger a crisis with Denmark, a longtime ally, and that France has been working with allies on planning if the U.S. were to move on Greenland. This is where Trump's brain breaks reality into a casino mindset. Everything is a deal. Everything is leverage. Everything is I offer money, you give me land. But countries are not for sale, and sovereignty is not a coupon code. When you normalize the idea that a president can threaten military action to force a territory into submission, you are normalizing the language of conquest, the language the world supposedly moved past. Trump is trying to drag the United States backward into a world where brute force and bribery are the same thing. And while Trump is obsessing over foreign domination, the domestic picture is even darker. We are learning more about the identity of Renee Nicole Mlin Good, who she was, and what an incredible person she was. Say her name, Renee Nicole Mlin Good. NPR News and other outlets have been detailing it. A mother of 3, a poet, new to the city, a 37-year-old mother of 3 who had recently moved to Minnesota, a U.S. citizen born in Colorado, appears to have never been charged with anything involving law enforcement beyond a traffic ticket. in social media accounts. Mlin Good described herself as a poet and writer and wife and mom. She said she was currently experiencing Minneapolis. There was a pride flag emoji on her Instagram account. A profile picture posted to Pinterest showed her smiling and holding a young child against her cheek, along with posts about tattoos, hairstyles, and home decorating. Her ex-husband, who asked not to be named out of concern for the safety of their children, said she had just dropped off her 6-year-old son at school on Wednesday and was driving home with her current partner when they encountered a group of ICE agents on a snowy street in Minneapolis, where they had moved last year from Kansas City, Missouri. Video taken by bystanders posted to social media then shows the officer approaching the car and shooting her in the face. We have showed that video before. We do not need to show you that video here. Federal authorities claim one thing. The video shows what it shows, and the public response is what happens when people feel like the state can kill and then narrate its own innocence afterward. Now the Trump regime is also engaged in what critics describe as a cover-up of the killing of Renee Nicole Mlin Good. They are refusing to allow Minneapolis to take any part in the investigation. This was from Kristi Noem, the Secretary of Homeland Security, earlier today, where she says Minneapolis will not have any jurisdiction over the investigation of a killing by ICE in Minneapolis. They have not been cut out. They don't have any jurisdiction in this investigation. And when asked how she responds to people who watch the video with their own eyes and see something different than what she is saying. When people see that Renee Nicole Mlin Good was not using her vehicle in an act of domestic terrorism, but that an ICE agent approached her car and shot her in the face. Kristi Noem does what propagandists do. She repeats the script. This vehicle was used to hit this officer. It was used as a weapon, and the officer feels as though his life was in jeopardy. It was used to perpetuate a violent act. This officer took action to protect himself and to protect his fellow law enforcement officers. We'll let this continue to go forward and follow the same policies and procedures that every use of force situation does. We've had almost over 100 times that these vehicles have been used to ram law enforcement officers and to do damage and to harm them. When you take an action and use a weapon to harm someone and to incite violence against them and try to cause them injury or death, then it needs to be labeled exactly what it was. That is the line. That is the branding. Domestic terrorism. Not because the facts demand it, but because the label is useful. Because once you say terrorism, you try to make accountability disappear. And then, like clockwork, the broadcast flips into an ad read, because in modern America, even a crisis gets monetized. While everyone else is promising to hit the gym more in 2026, I'm focusing on something that will actually stick. Better nutrition for my kids. That's exactly why Hiya exists. To give parents a real solution in a market flooded with products that prioritize candy like appeal over actual nutrition. Some children's vitamins on the market today contain up to 7 grams of sugar per serving and are stuffed with artificial additives and petroleum-based dyes. Hiya took the opposite approach. Zero sugar, zero gummy junk, just clean nutrition. And the crazy thing, kids actually love them. The taste, the experience, all of it. What makes Hiya different is how thoughtfully it's designed. They looked at what modern kids are actually eating or not eating and formulated around those specific nutritional gaps. Working alongside pediatricians and nutrition scientists, Hiya created a super-powered chewable vitamin that packs 12 organic fruits and vegetables, plus 15 essential vitamins and minerals into every dose. Designed for kids 2 and up, Hiya ships straight to your door. You get this awesome reusable bottle with your first order, and they send refills every month. One last thing to remember at the store. My son loves Hiya, and he had such a blast decorating the bottle with the stickers in the first order. It was awesome. And here's something every parent needs to hear. If getting your kids to eat vegetables feels like an impossible daily battle, Hiya's new Kids Daily Greens plus Superfoods is a total game changer. It's basically chocolate milk stuffed with veggies. It's a green powder that's packed with 55 plus whole food source ingredients. Just mix 1 scoop with milk or any non-dairy beverage and watch them actually enjoy something that's secretly fueling their growing bodies. We've worked out a special deal with Hiya for their best-selling children's vitamin. Receive 50% off your first order. To claim this deal, you must go to Hiya Health. This deal is not available on their regular website. Then we snap back into reality. A reporter asks. The state investigation agency says they are being cut out. What is your response to cutting out the state agency from being able to investigate possible crimes by ICE? And Kristi Noem makes it even uglier. She lashes out at Minnesota, calls it corrupt, a train wreck. blames Governor Walz and the mayor, talks about fraud, claims they haven't done their work for years, says they should be investigating people harassing and inciting violence against law enforcement, and then repeats the core line again. They have not been cut out. They don't have any jurisdiction in this investigation. Then another question lands, about Tom Haman saying people should wait for an investigation before drawing conclusions, and Noam shrugs it off while insisting everyone is on the same page, that the officer followed his training and acted in defense of his life and those around him. This is what authoritarian messaging looks like. It is not about truth. It is about control of the narrative. It is about shutting out anyone who might ask the wrong questions. It is about declaring the investigation belongs to the same machine that caused the harm. And Trump's ecosystem does not stop at the podium. They line up the MAGA goons. They send out the message discipline. They elevate the threats. MAGA Republican Randy Fine steps in and says, "It's time for Americans to say enough." And then he says the quiet part out loud, the part that should freeze your blood. He implies that if you get in the way of the government repelling a foreign invasion, you are going to end up just like that lady did yesterday. In other words, obey or die. He says it like it is normal. He says it like it is patriotism. He says it like the state has the right to kill you for being in the way. And yes, it sounds exactly like the language of the most grotesque authoritarian creatures in history. All right, Florida Congressman Randy Fine, great to see you this morning. I wish it was under better circumstances. Me too, thank you. And then, earlier today, Donald Trump gave an interview. He did it yesterday, but it was published earlier today in the New York Times. Questions about Venezuela, about democratic elections, about why America would support Deli Rodriguez, described as authoritarian, over an opposition leader, about the plan. And what comes through is emptiness. No plan beyond domination, no strategy beyond control, no interest beyond profit and power. The conclusion critics draw is brutal. Trump wants a puppet, and he wants the oil, for himself and for the oligarch friends he feeds. So zoom out and connect the dots, because this is the part Trump never wants you to do. A Senate vote goes 52-47 to advance a war powers resolution to restrict further military action in Venezuela without Congress. Trump threatens a veto and claims he can invade wherever he wants in the Western Hemisphere. While that is happening, Reuters reports his team is discussing paying Greenlanders $10,000 to $100,000 each to support secession from Denmark and U.S. affiliation, with military options lurking behind the bribery. And at home, an ICE operation ends with a U.S. citizen, a 37-year-old mother, Renee Nicole Mlin Good, shot in the face, and the administration moves to control the investigation, control the labels, control the narrative, and intimidate anyone who challenges the story. This is not random. This is a model. It is force abroad and force at home. It is coercion overseas and coercion in the streets. It is I can do what I want as foreign policy, and you saw nothing as domestic policy. It is a regime that behaves like the law is something it can bend, buy, or bury, and people are pushing back. Our friends from Status Coop News got video on the ground in Minneapolis. We are going to do a whole other video based on their work. We love working with them. Support their work on their Substack and their YouTube channel. Watch the footage. Protesters standing in front of the Trump ICE crew out there terrorizing the community. And listen to the words, because they are the sound of a country trying to remember its conscience. Murdering a mother of a 6-year-old child. You're in the wrong place in your soul. God help you. God help you. Every one of us has to look at the choices we make in this world. We have to look at the decisions we make. No amount of money is worth what happens. No amount of money is worth taking fathers away from their families so they can't work. No amount of money is worth. It's walk away. You can walk away. You can walk away. You don't have to do this. So can you, man? You really don't have to do this. You don't have to do it. Everybody has to follow their own conscience. Everyone has to follow their conscience. Everyone has to do what's right in front of their God, in front of their soul, in front of themselves. That's what you have to do. You have to grapple with the fact that a 37-year-old mother was murdered by ICE yesterday in cold blood. She left a 6-year-old son. Her son's named Emerson. Emerson does not have a mother today. Emerson doesn't have a mother today because one of you murdered a woman in cold blood yesterday. Emerson does not have the mother today. Don't smirk at me, man. Don't smirk at me. I can see the smirk behind that. Don't smirk. The death of a woman is not a smirkable thing. That is what it sounds like when people refuse to be domesticated by fear. So here we are. A Senate vote. A war powers fight. A president raging because he was told no. A reported plan to throw cash at Greenlanders to fracture an ally and buy a strategic island. A domestic killing that triggers a jurisdiction fight, and a propaganda push, and a movement of ordinary people standing in the cold telling agents of the state to look at their own souls. Trump wants you exhausted. He wants you numb. He wants you to treat each new outrage like weather, like background noise. Do not give him that victory. Connect the story. Remember the names. Demand oversight. Demand accountability. Demand that Congress do more than posture. Demand that investigations are not controlled by the very power being questioned. And when Trump screams about absolute power, hear what he's really saying. He wants permission to do whatever he wants, wherever he wants, to whoever he wants. We are anonymous. We are not asking. Well, there you have it. Folks, let us know what you think. Hit subscribe. We appreciate you so much.